Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. My name is Martha Brown, and I here volunteer with Dementia Friendly Fort Worth. We are proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. These programs are recorded and are made available for viewing through a YouTube channel for future use. I am your host for today's activities. Today, we're going to hear from Miss Peggy Spear from the Amon Carter Museum of American Art. Peggy is going to give us some views and discussion about trains. Peggy, take it away.
We can't hear you.
Peggy. We can't hear Peggy.
Nope.
She says, wait just a minute. I love it. Anybody heard any good jokes lately?
No.
Nope, can't hear you now.
Joke.
Okay.
How about
You just
Oh, try again.
Hi.
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
yes,
we
we
can.
can.
Woohoo!
Whew. Every
So-
time it's something new, I tell you.
Mhm.
All right.
Pretty weak.
Yes, you're a little weak.
I will try to project my voice, but I'm going to try to switch the microphone.
Okay.
Nope.
Switch the microphone. No.
That didn't sound good.
Artful Moments turns.
She probably has several in her studio.
All right. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Is it really quiet?
No, it's
No,
good.
you're good.
No, it's better. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Thanks for being patient with me. I don't know
No.
what it is. I have one camera, and I don't.
We're all in this together, Peggy.
Mhm.
Ain't it the truth?
It
All
is
right.
what it is.
We're talking about trains. I right now will admit I know very little about trains, but we're just gonna look at beautiful artwork, and we'll let people like Steve and Don, who probably know a lot more about this than I do, to talk about trains where it needs to be. But here we go. All right, so first on deck, what do we see?
What do we see?
Hi.
Sky.
See.
A lot of sky.
Yeah.
Telephone poles.
Yep.
Mhm.
Smoke. Trees.
And
Oh.
trees. Yeah.
Is there a train in there?
Yes, in the
Yep.
very
Yes.
center underneath the smoke. Over there.
Oh, I thought those were trees. That's smoke.
No, that's
And
no.
that's smoke from the,
That's
oh, I
smoke
thought
from
there
the
were
train.
trees too.
You know what?
Me
Yeah,
too.
it does look like trees. When you said that for a second, I was like, wait, are they trees?
Because
No.
they're
It's-
covering the
I know.
telephone poles.
It
It looks
looks
like
like-
Yeah,
trucks.
that's right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Mhm.
No, but it's smoke.
It's smoke.
But even
Oh,
though you say I can barely, it's the back of the train maybe. I mean, it's barely visible.
So
Yep.
it's the title of the artwork, which is giving us a lot of help here, is called Approaching Train at Dusk. So the
Mhm.
train is actually coming towards us.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
That's
like
the
it's going-
front of the train, and you can start to see the train winding
Yep.
to the left. Like the front of the train's at us, but then the back of the train starts to winding a little bit to the left. So we don't see the full train,
but then no, it's down here.
but it's you get the sense it's coming towards us. And then another part that's giving us a lot of clues is at dusk. So
Mhm.
you see it's darker on the right side of the photograph,
Yeah.
you know, which I thought this was just a beautiful picture of a train. While the title focuses really on the train's not the focus of the artwork. It's
Right.
more of a inclusion, but not the focal point. The steam seems to be more of the focal point than the actual train itself.
Yeah.
And it seems to mimic the dusk sky.
Oh, yeah.
Say that again, please. It mimics.
The sky.
The
Sky.
sky.
Cloud.
Clouds in the sky.
Yeah, so you've got the darker parts to the right, and that steam, that smoke is starting to break up,
Yep.
just the same way that the sky is still a little light, but about to be broken up by that the
Mhm.
darkness coming in.
Yeah,
Any
looks like
guesses on where this might have been photographed in the world, in the country?
Oh,
Well, it's flat. I'm saying, I'm guessing it's coming from St. Louis across Texarkana toward Dallas, Fort Worth.
Well, I'd say it's any place to going across Kansas.
It's
But
in
if you look at the
Colorado, so you're
In
probably
Colorado?
right. You're probably right, Don, hitting that Kansas plane right into Colorado. It's flatter than get out in that part of
Yeah,
Colorado.
Yes,
been
it
there,
is.
been there quite a bit.
Yeah, so you know. But this particular photographer, I knew the name, but I didn't really know anything about him. And he actually he's from Colorado, and he went to the University of Denver for undergraduate, and then went to the went to University of Denver, but in the same graduate program that I went to at the University of Denver just many, many years before me. So we both have our masters in art history from the University of Denver.
Wow.
Kindred spirit.
So I just thought that was kind of cool. You always find things like that. But he was a fine arts photographer. And he was a commercial photographer. So this is an example of his fine art photography.
Tell me why that's fine art photography, Peggy. I need education.
Well, it's a softer image. It's not quite in focus. It's not commercial. You might think about something like something you would see in a catalog or on a website, something that might feel very
Like
kind of not
purposeful.
sterile, but not. There's no real artistic element to it. It's trying to sell you something up front. Where this seems to have more of a poetic feel to it. This wasn't for selling anything. He was really just creating this image to create a beautiful image.
Thank you.
But
Learn
Peggy,
something.
you say the train is coming towards us,
Yeah.
so it must be blowing quite heavily from the
Yes.
back of the train.
Yes, that's why I think the Kansas, Colorado scenario is probably accurate because that's how the wind blows in Kansas all the time.
Go Don.
Looks like it's going away.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
as if
it
the
does,
train is
doesn't it,
going the
David?
other way. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and when you see something in brackets like that, a title, sometimes that title isn't what the artist gave it. It's what the art historians have given it. It's what the museum might have given it, because in our collection, we needed something to better identify this artwork. So this might not be the title the artist actually gave it. And
Oh,
so maybe approaching is a little misleading. It should just be train at dusk.
Approaching train at dusk.
I'm going to be really stupid here and say, is Winter Prather the name of the artist?
Yes.
Winter is his
It's a
first
male.
name.
It's a
Right
male
there.
photographer. That name sounds kind of like it could go either way. He's a man.
Thank you.
you know what else I noticed in this, Peggy, are the telephone poles taking your focus right to the center of the picture.
That is such a beautiful point out. Yes, that framing.
Yes.
It's a very common artistic device, and yes, it's framing. You're taking your eyes right to the center. Good point out.
Great observation.
I don't know. It looks like to me the train is leaving, not approaching, but that's just me, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
From
you're
this-
not
from
alone.
this- From this view, it's hard to
Okay,
tell.
good.
Well,
Jack, I'm with
the
you.
one thing is you would have a headlight if it was coming towards you.
Yeah, see?
You don't
Ooh.
have one.
It looks like it's going away.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve has had some train
Yeah,
train
I've
work
never
here.
seen smoke going.
Leaving train at dusk.
And
Yeah.
isn't the coal section on the tail end of the train anyway? Like where the smoke would be coming from?
Well, that'd be from the locomotive, but if the cars behind it would not have,
No.
they would not have any smoke coming from them.
No.
Unless it
But
was a
do any-
caboose. Sometimes they had a fire in the caboose to keep warm.
But it would not be as big as much smoke from the caboose.
Yeah. Right.
But
That's a
if it's
lot.
coming, if it's coming towards us, do any of you see anything else than the locomotive?
Yeah, I see a little bit of a thing that looks like the
Little
tail end of the
trail.
train down below there.
A dark
So it really
shadow.
is coming towards us
Huh.
as the train is back behind it.
Yeah,
Oh, so the train, the wagons are straight behind it.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ah.
And curving. That's a curved track.
It's coming
And
up a hill.
speak to what
Basically.
Myra was
Coming
talking about, you might
Ah.
be able to see the telephone pole. start, they kind of curve in, but then they seem to straighten out. So you can see,
Yeah,
whoop, you
They
can
actually go
see
down,
that-
down a hill is what it is,
yeah, looking down the hill,
down
that's
into a
right.
valley.
Mm-hmm. Boy, this
Um,
artist really makes us work for this one.
I love this picture.
Well, I think the other thing is this smoke may actually be, you can't tell if it's really black or white because it's behind the lights and back and behind it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was oil or coal or wood fired. Probably oil. What do you think?
I
Oil,
would say
Steve?
cold.
Probably at this day and age, probably more oil,
Okay,
oil fired. They really didn't do much wood fire or coal at this stage.
okay.
1945 is during the war, so they could still have some coal burners.
Mhm.
I've got to do an aside here. Don is an artist and he put out a calendar this year, and this month is the morning sky tree and the evening sky tree.
Hmm.
And this reminds me somewhat of the sky from his morning and evening tree. I
Oh,
bet
how
he's going
cool.
to show us.
Yeah, Don, whip it up.
Yeah. What's that?
Whip it up.
Whip,
Let's
whip
see.
that out. Show us.
Okay, hold on. Here it is.
Don, is it possible for me to get a calendar? I'd really like.
Oh,
Sure.
Sure.
And I bet David would love one too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Dude, I like that.
So can you see
I
it
probably
okay?
believe
yes,
it.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, Martha, I totally see the comparison. The light on the left and the dark on the right. It's what Don has created in his tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cute bird. Cute bird. Cute bird.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll see about getting.
I just need your addresses.
I'll make sure you get them.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you, Martha.
All right, so this is a beautiful train. We're gonna switch now to another beautiful train.
Mhm.
Ooh,
This would be a
that one
coal
was
burner.
coming at
Yeah,
ya.
definitely.
Yeah.
They usually had a lot more white smoke than the oil
That's from the
burners.
steam. That's from the steam.
Yeah.
No picture.
1903.
So this was taken by a photographer whose name is Alfred
Oh.
Stieglitz in 1903. And does anyone, we've talked about him for a hot second in the past, and anyone can remember who this man is, you get 1,000,000 gold stars from me. Does anyone remember who Alfred Stieglitz is?
Georgia O'Keeffe's husband.
Bingo!
All
Martha,
right.
gosh.
Thank you,
stars.
Martha.
Good, Martha.
Give her a
I
cookie.
love it. Good job. Your stars will be in the mail.
Thank you.
So this particular photographer was really well known in New York, in photography circles. And so during this time, when he was photographing, he broke away from the normal conventions of what photography was doing. And he's part of the photo secessionist group. And they wanted to create, here's that term again, fine art. They wanted to make photography elevated and have the same cachet that painting and sculpture had. Because so many people viewed photography as something that, well, it's mechanical. How much hand of the artist is actually involved, and that was not true. These artists were creating things with framing and lighting that were beautiful. So they wanted to try to, Alfred Stieglitz and other photographers like him broke away from the norms and were creating now these photographs that were called pictorialists. I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase before, pictorialist images.
Ooh, nice.
They were creating using these really labor-intensive processes to create photographs that really put the artist's hand back into the creation of the artwork. So that meant, this is a photogravure. That is a very laborious photo development process that allowed artists to say, well, yeah, now I'm completely involved in what the tonality of this image is. And you can see these are softer edges.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything seems a little out of focus. It was
Yep.
deliberate. They wanted that softer, more poetic type of feel. They could easily make it sharp contrast, easy peasy, but that's not what they were trying to do. They were creating these effects through lighting, through aperture, through development of agitating and chemicals to create these beautiful images.
Yeah.
So what else do you see here? You see
What
Snow,
skiing,
see the
Snow.
snow, but you also see the
snow.
intricacy of a train yard
yep, that's right.
Yeah,
with so many tracks and switches.
that's
And-
right. You sort of see where the water is being
Right.
filled in over there behind
And you see the little switch
the
control
water.
down at the bottom.
Oh, uh-huh.
And at this day and age, they actually had switchmen.
So
'Cause they
this
had
is
no
actually,
automatic
I have to cut
switches.
you off, Steve, because this is not part of the photograph. I'm sorry.
Right.
This is color scale. This is
No.
when we photograph images, our photographers use color scale to image to make sure we're capturing when we photograph the color appropriately.
No, I
So
meant
I
on
can
the,
crop that out, but that is not part
yeah.
of
I was talking about the bottom of the photo itself.
Oh, right here.
Yeah. And because they actually had men do the switching
Mm-hmm.
because there were no automatic switches at that day like there are today.
Mhm.
So a guy would be there and have a big handle and he'd move
Cool.
them back and forth.
So there's a guy on the left side of the picture that might be doing
Yeah,
something like
yeah, it was
that.
very intricate. Took a lot of, there was no radio control, so a lot of hand signals, things like that of where things were going. It was a very, very intricate system.
Dangerous too, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Too, also.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So while you're focusing on some of the nuances within what a train yard, the function, the people, that was not what he was trying to capture.
I know it wasn't.
No, but I'm just saying, but up until this point in time, it was taking pictures to show what they saw, not
Right.
to create
Yeah.
something beautiful. So
I mean-
at one point in time, people were used to seeing, oh, well, these are how train tracks function. This is, there as a
Right.
person manning the station. Now he was really focusing on maybe the tonality and the formality of it. And so
Well-
that included photographing on snow days.
I think
now-
this,
Oh, go ahead.
I think this picture probably could approximate what a painting
So
of a same scene would be, because it's
Yeah.
a little bit out of focus. And the contrast and tonality are
Mhm.
things that the painter would look for if he's
Yes.
making a painting.
Yeah, it's not completely centered and it's more than just showing us what we see. There's a beauty and a grace behind this photograph. And
usually it'd probably be only somebody that looks at trains a lot that would think about the details I thought about.
but this was new for audiences at the time,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they were used to seeing, so this scientific photographs that were very cut and dry. This was not cut and dry. This has, and there we have a lot of photo collections throughout the country. This is a photograph that's almost in any collection that has a big photography collection. And we have multiples of this particular exposure.
Mm.
So he was really working through, some of the images we have are darker versions of this, are lighter versions of this. So
Wow.
again, the artist's hand is more visible in this type of photograph. And so this particular photograph is some art historians have been able to kind of place where this was taken. And it was taken in Grand Central Terminal on the 48th Street footbridge.
Wow. I wondered about the come from, the place.
So you call it more history than art.
Say that again, David?
So you'd call it more history than
No.
art?
This would actually be more art than history.
Okay, all right.
So, I know. And this particular movement, this pictorialist style, really was big in the early 1900s. And the way art history, tells the story is, okay, and then after the pictorialist, then there was the modern, whatever the next movement is. This type of photography lasted for decades, even though other methods were being used or things were in vogue or avant-garde. This really hung around for an extremely long time, but we focused really on it when it came to be with Albert Stieglitz and other artists who were doing that when it first came about.
So is this part of your collection there with Amon Carter, Peggy?
Yes,
Okay.
every artwork we see, unless I tell you otherwise, is part of our collection.
Is that a rip in the photograph in the middle?
No, you know what? I was shocked. I thought it was on my screen at first. I think it might be a flaw in the print. There
Thanks
might
for
be even
sharing.
tissue paper that happened to catch on the photogravure because we'll put very inert tissue paper on things for when you freeze it. It's in between tissues. And so that might just be a piece of tissue paper that was still there.
Okay.
I know, I know, when I was looking on my computer, smaller, it wasn't that obvious. And this, I don't have the dimensions for this one, but a photogravure is typically more like an 8x10 size. At
Okay.
least this one, so it's not tiny. All right, we're gonna move from photography, and we're gonna now jump
Oh, I like
into
that.
etching.
Oh,
So we've looked at this particular artist before, Peggy Bacon. She's a Margaret as well, goes by Peggy. We looked at the one, if you can think back to the bowlers, where it looked like they were just having a big old party at a bowling
Yeah.
alley. This is that same particular artist, but in a different type of social scene. So what do we see here?
People sitting there on a train, but I don't know that I would have known that if we hadn't been doing trains.
Yeah.
What would you have thought they were in otherwise?
Looks
Sitting
like
in a bar.
A bar?
These three guys on the left are waiting to get a table.
Three guys are waiting to get a table.
Well, it looks like, okay, to me, I'm getting a little bit more technical again. The guys on the left are in what we call second class seating.
Yeah.
And the guys on the right are in first class.
Yeah.
But their clothing's the same, so what would your explanation for that be?
Or what?
Their clothing is the same, so what would your explanation for class seating be then?
Steve,
Just
when
the
I rode the,
availability, the price, you
But-
know.
So this
I
is
mean-
called the elevated. It's basically the subway, but
Yeah.
above.
Right. Yeah.
So there was no, that I'm aware of, there was no hierarchy in.
it's first come, first serve.
But if you look at the hat the guy sitting in the chair is holding, it's more of a top hat. Would indicate more of the black, he's holding a black hat. Or a
Where?
top hat.
Right? Oh no, this
Yeah.
this is on this particular woman. This is the artist, the portrait of the
Oh,
artist.
that's right. I'm
That's
sorry,
right.
I'm
I
sorry.
was gonna say,
Yes,
but
yes,
you can
yes,
tell
yes.
it's the artist. Her name's spelled backwards on the
Right, yes.
thing she's holding.
Yes.
She's
so,
holding a piece of art.
She, right. So that's how she identified herself. This is Peggy Bacon. This is a self. She often included herself in her caricatures.
Peggy
This is
Bacon.
Peggy Bacon sitting, and we know that because she's got her canvas or whatever it is under her arm. And Bellows, that's the name that's cut off. George Bellows was a friend of hers. We've looked at artworks of his, but that's a little nod to her friend. But she's removed herself from the crowded seating.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she's removed herself. She's depicting herself as very independent in a number of ways. Can you identify any of those ways?
She's the only one on the right side.
The only one on the right side that's independent. She's traveling alone.
There's
The
a
women
different
did-
style of hat than all the other ladies is part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
More of a masculine hat.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and that ties into, she knew as a female artist, she was in the minority. And so she was depicting herself as someone who's like, I know this is who I am, and I've got my canvas here to show you that this is who I identify as, but I realize I am not your run-of-the-mill woman who's sitting right here. One,
Right.
in what is traditional garb for a woman of that time, but two, with a man.
Right.
Looks like she's sitting on a seat that's the same material as what the man is sitting on.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that cross-hatching.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
a
she
chair.
has short hair.
Peggy, thank
Yeah.
you for so much. I have to leave. I've got another
All right.
call.
Bye,
Everybody
Steve.
else, see you
Later.
tomorrow.
We'll work on that calendar thing.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And so much and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Bye, Steve.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.
You know,
She
for
has
some reason,
short-
Peggy, I thought that was the back of the man. I didn't recognize that as a chair.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, it's
Oh,
nice.
no, that was a chair.
So, and
I
then,
saw-
yeah, you really got to like almost look at it in sections. So you can see this group, and then behind them you see what is apartment building.
Yeah.
And then you've got this group, and then you've got her as her own person.
Yep.
And another thing is she has short hair.
Short hair, yeah. It could be pinned up in a way. You can't really tell the detail in this. But you know, this was painted, or this was created in the 19 teens. So the fact that she was even on the train, that was like a new, or, you know, the subway. This was almost like a new independence for women as well, to be able to kind of get around on their own without a man bringing them or a person care. You know, this was a bit, or walking. This was like a new woman of the world, woman of the city type of.
So does anybody know when the women's suffragette time was?
Wasn't it
1900?
1916 or so?
Yeah. I'm thinking about Mary Poppins, because that's part of the movie. But it looks like it'd be Mary Poppins. I don't know.
That hat.
Style. So anyway, so this is just another, this is the only interior view of a train we'll have, but I feel as though this is a pretty relatable experience for most people, whether you you took the train to work every day, or you were traveling cross country. Everyone's had a subway train situation where you can kind of relate to the sardineness. People kind of, a lot of people together, but doing their own thing. No one seems to be engaging with each other at all.
Right.
Oh, look at their shoes. Look at their shoes
Yeah.
too.
But how nicely they are dressed. I don't know if
Yeah.
you mentioned that, because I had to go with ties and their little.
Yeah. Well, the third guy on the from the right looks like he's not shaven.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's got a big nose too.
Yeah, it does.
Well, and she was a caricature artist for a long time, and she's never outwardly mean, but she, you know, she didn't like that aspect of caricature, so she ended up leaving that type of art behind. But she had that ability to kind of play off of physical appearance and things like that.
So Peggy, this says the method was dry point. Is that just drawing on paper with an ink pen?
It's etching.
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 Okay. So then they would make a lithograph out. You could make lithographs out of this thing, right?
It wouldn't be the lithograph is you're using a lithographic stone. Etching, you're carving into either metal or wood, and then you're putting the paper on top. So this to me, dry point is metal typically, so you can see that fine cross hatching.
Yeah.
Yes.
That you can get to with a stylus, real nitty gritty.
Okay.
All right, I know we're running out of time, but I've got a few more if you just want to hang on.
Please, of course.
So this is another, we have looked at Currier and Ives. This is a lithograph now, Don. This is, you can maybe kind of see a little bit of the difference. This particular artist, Frances Flora Bond Palmer, worked for Currier and Ives for a really long time. And she was, people loved her work. So her work is, she did over 200 lithographs while she was with the company. And a lot of her work was reproduced because it just had an alluring, calming, beautiful, would look nice framed on your walls. So what do we see in this particular
Lookout Mountain.
Yeah.
Lookout Mountain.
I've been there.
My first.
Oh, cool.
It's not, well, you know, it was a big tourist attraction on the way from Illinois to South Carolina, and so we made that trip several times between making relative visits.
Oh, cool. So does this
Say it a little louder, John.
What did John say?
You said, look at the delicateness of the painting. The house. I was holding this up so they could hear you.
Oh, I was just saying that it's a very finely done piece of art.
Yes, her works were typically, they had a very delicate feel to them. And she, so this is lithographed with applied watercolor. So first it's in black and white, and then someone would go in, probably someone on staff, not her, would go in and paint the watercolor back in. So it's almost like a coloring sheet by the time the watercolorist gets it. But does it
driving experience on a mountain.
What do you think?
It's on a mountain. Does this feel, it feels very different than we've got a city scene. This feels very serene or rural.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she, during this time, she was on staff, she was typically painting still lives or creating still lives. But she did before do a lot of rural scenes, and this really captures that essence of, a domestic homestead in the wilderness. And but there was this type of work was doing another function. It was to show people who would never make it to Lookout Mountain like Don back in the big cities, kind of what the United States looked like away from their urban life. And so, and it was also kind of bragging on like, we got a railroad system going through Tennessee. So, it's not just Lookout Mountain, and it says, and the Chattanooga Railroad.
Right.
That was kind of bragging on what.
Right.
I went to school there
Oh, did you really?
in Cleveland, just outside of Chattanooga.
Cool.
So I might be wrong about this, and maybe you can correct me, Janine, but isn't the Lookout Mountain one part of the Blue Mountain Range?
I would assume, but I don't know.
I think it's the, well,
You can tell us.
Birmingham, I think it's from the Smoky Mountains.
Smoky
but I'm
Mountains,
not-
okay.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
That'd be better, yeah.
So what we're doing in US, it's happening down in Mexico as well. And so there's an artist who has several of his prints. I think we have 40 of them. His name is Casimiro Castro, and he was creating about a decade later, he created a pamphlet of, or more of a portfolio, I should say, of scenes of Mexico where they had the train coming through. So this was for the same reason the US was doing
we saw that.
of these prints, was to show, one, the beauty and grandeur of Mexico, but then to also show, but we're so modern as well. You can travel through, these beautiful, take this beautiful bridge through what kind of feels like a more tropical climate. You can, this is from a hospital, a point of view of a bridge from a hospital. So it's, going through cities, it's going through rural farmlands. So it was showing that you could get anywhere you needed to go in Mexico.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
They're really beautiful prints. And we actually had 4 of them. We had 2 up, and then we rotated up another 2 when we had this on our wall. And we talked about
Oh, yeah.
those prints of the Mexican train railroad is what inspired our artist to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was able to take, kind of the best of from a few of the prints to create this almost like a hodgepodge of what those Casimiro Castro prints look like. And if you look closely, you can see the train with its smoke billowing back right here. And this is the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tissue paper.
Oh, yeah.
So even though trains, they were doing it in the 1870s, 1860s.
Didn't we see that one?
We're still seeing a train now, and this was 2019. So
Didn't you already show us the previous picture in the session? Not this one. That one? No, not that one. No, the next one.
This one?
That one. Didn't you use that already?
We might have when I was talking about inspiration for this particular artwork.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah,
not
Good memory.
Yeah,
I just
that's a really good
remember the
memory.
other one.
I don't even remember. Yeah, no. If I did, it was because this was one of the artworks that was on view when this artwork was installed.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So visitors were able to make that connection of what was inspiring the artist. He found this collection, and before this exhibition, which is no longer on the wall, these prints had never been on view in our museum. So they saw light for the first time just about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
We got one more, just because this is how we were expecting when we were going to talk about trains. But,
That's my favorite.
oh, you like these type of historical type of almost just capturing history.
Yes.
That's what this is. And William Henry Jackson, again, another Denver guy, was he worked for the government for a while doing geological and geographical photographs for the U.S. from, I think it was 1870 to 1878. And then afterwards, he just loved the West so much, he ended up settling down in Denver and made a living taking photographs in Denver. And so this is one. This isn't for the United States government. This wasn't part of his geological, but this was one of those just straightforward pictures of like, this is what life looks like right now. And in the Animas Canyon. And this is right near Silverton, if you guys are Colorado people, near Silverton in the San Juan region. Janine, what makes you like these the most?
I like the rocks and the detail on the train. As opposed to just kind of an impression of a train.
Yeah.
Are you like these types of these more photojournalistic, even though this isn't photojournalistic, these more straight types of photographs more than the artistic ones? If you like the regular one, just straight up photograph, raise your hand.
Yeah.
If you like the artistic version, raise your hand. I've got a lot of people on a fence right now.
I like making a straight up photograph artistic, like this one. The lines and the rocks and the perspective and the framing of this is very artistic.
It is.
But you can see the detail. I like being able to see the detail.
Yeah.
And where was this?
Look at the tracks even.
Yeah, look at those timbers instead
The
of.
timbers for the track.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mark,
And
look at the narrow gauge.
Yeah.
And look at the
out of
passenger.
Colorado.
The passengers are very nicely dressed.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
So
Maybe they always did that at that time, that you dressed up when you.
well, I was trying to figure out why a train would stop on the middle of a upgrade. Anyway, maybe it was just to take this picture, but it looks like that you know, having that train stop on a track there seems like it'd be kind of dangerous if there was other trains on the track.
And in this time with the albumin silver print, it wasn't handheld. He had to set up to take this photograph. So
okay.
There was thought behind this. It wasn't like, pull over, let me snap a quick pic. It was like, okay, I'm going to need to set up to take this photograph, this exposure. So
now, who's all ridden the train from Silverton to Durango?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep. No, it's like
that looks a lot like that.
That's similar looking.
It does.
And it says Rio Grande on it. I don't know if you can read that on the train, but that's what that detailing, those words say. Ooh. But I can't read what's on looks like what's carrying the coal. I can't read.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have a lot of trains in a lot of different capacities here. It's not just telling the history of how the trains got to be in the United States. There's a lot of beautiful artistic renditions from cities to suburbs to rural. So we don't always have these on view because these are all works on paper, but you got to see some that are.
This is a beautiful picture. I like it.
I love this picture.
Yeah. Well, dang, we have so many of those. I should have done more. Next week, we're back with, I think it's birthdays, because it's not St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, I think we're doing birthdays next week. The Amon Carter is celebrating its 60th birthday this year, so we have birthday theme related stuff. So we'll be doing birthday parties.
Excellent.
Birthdays. Okay.
Peggy. Oh, did you leave?
I'll see y'all later.
Peggy, I would like to thank you for the postcard you sent us.
Oh yes, I'm glad you got that.
Very sweet.
Yeah, enjoyed that.
It went out during the ice storm, so I was like, they're never going to see him. But I'm glad y'all got your mail. I've been thinking of you at the museum, so I'll see y'all next week, okay?
Thank you, Miss
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
So long.
Daddy John said hello.
Hello, John. Janine.
Yeah, and everybody that came in. Okay, let's see what we've got going. Okay, that's today. Tomorrow Right after this, starting at 11:15, we have Fifth Street Cafe, so we can sit around and chat. And next, tomorrow, we have the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, Birds of the Metroplex.
Oh, too bad. We'll
Oh, yeah,
sing.
but it's on tape, so you can see it another time.
We can go in and see it another time. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
you can. I thought it was just going to be birds. And when she said Peggy was, I'm sorry, the Fort Worth Museum was talking to Gail about what they were going to do, and they told us it was Birds of the Metroplex.
Okay.
So that's for tomorrow. And it, of course, will be on tape so that you can see it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right.
The
Let's see.
news of the day for the Olsons is that tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we are scheduled for our COVID shots.
Right, right.
You have to go. Where do you have to go, Phil?
Globe Life Park is where we're gonna go.
Globe Life Park.
And the news here is we got an elevator.
All right, Dusty. Yay.
Great. Woohoo.